Hello?
May I please speak to Mr. Frank Wallace?
Speaking.
This is Rhonda from Long Life Insurance. This call is to inform you that your life insurance policy has been cancelled, effective immediately.
Cancel? I beg your pardon?
Yes, cancelled. According to information provided by your mobile device, you've left your house 4 times this week and traveled a total distance of 16.2 kilometers.
My mobile device? You mean my phone?
Yes. Since the outbreak, we've been authorized by your government to track our clients' movements via their mobile phones. Anyone voluntarily putting themselves at risk automatically has their insurance policy cancelled.
That's crazy. I was out with a dog.
It's for your own protection.
I live on a farm.
We care deeply about all of our clients.
My closest neighbor is 20 minutes away. This is insane.
If you have any comments about this phone call or would like to file a complaint, please call our customer service at 1-800-LOVE-LIFE. That's L-U-V, not L-O-V-E.
You bunch of...
Please note, due to the pandemic, our offices are closed except Mondays between 9 a.m. and 12 p.m.
And here we are, episode 4. This week, I had the pleasure of chatting with singer-songwriter Sarah Biggs. I've been thinking about Sarah for a few different reasons lately, but one of them is a couple of years ago we got to work together on a project called the Sugar Shack Session. The idea was to take a singer-songwriter, a filmmaker, put them in a sugar shack somewhere in the area here and see what they came up with. And I remember that spring, it was funny because it was so cold. None of the sugar shacks, when we did the project, none of the sugar shacks were yet operational because it was just frigid. And we really lucked out because Sarah's got a very good friend whose name's Johnny Reichert. And Johnny's one of these incredible guys who just does everything with his hands. So he built his sugar shack with his hands. He collects the sap out of buckets on a horse-drawn sled. It's this really, really incredibly traditional experience. So we found ourselves in the sugar shack, and Sarah's such good friends with Johnny that she actually composed a song about him called The Ballad of Johnny Reichert, which we'll hear a little later on in the show. And the song is all about his abilities in just building stuff and getting stuff done. And the day that we shot the video, we lucked out because it was cold when we got there, and it warmed up that by the end of the shoot day, the sap had just started running. So we ended up being able to make some maple syrup on the day that we shot the video, which was really kind of cool. The project was a ton of fun. We ended up, we called all our friends to shoot this video, and everybody had a fun time in the woods that day. And we ended up winning first prize, which was this massive amount of maple syrup, maple butter, maple candies, maple, you name it. We had it. It was lovely. It's the best prize I've ever won. If you're interested in seeing the video, head over to YouTube and just punch in The Ballad of Johnny Reichert. That's R-H-I-C-A-R-D. And you'll find it. It's still up there and it's still going strong. Now, the other reason I wanted to chat with Sarah is to talk to her about this list of things she's grateful for that she very diligently posts on Facebook daily. The tougher that things get, the more I admire people who are going to stop and take stock of all the good things and focus on that instead of, it's really easy to get overwhelmed with everything that's happening. So she's been an inspiration to me, and I thought instead of just posting on Facebook, I'd give her a call and talk to her about it. So anyway, here's my chat with Sarah. Stick around. After that, I'm back with Bob Benoit, and he's got a delicious sounding recipe for sweet and sour sriracha chicken.
Hi, Rook.
Hello. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thanks. How are you doing?
Self-isolation with 2 kids.
Oh, I feel for you.
One 8 and one 15 months today.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a whole other ball of wax. I really do, yeah.
It's 2 completely different balls of wax, is what it is.
Yeah.
It's really, the needs of both are so extraordinarily different that it's a challenge. No, it's all right. We're doing okay.
How is your school-age child handling it all?
Remarkably well.
Yeah.
It's hard to see that from a parent's point of view, because you know, we're all, I can't say we're really stuck. It's not like we're living in an apartment. You know, we do still have a big backyard and stuff like that. But, you know, as a parent, it's really difficult to remain objective. But if I do take a step back, I look at him and I think, wow, he's actually handling it really well. You know,
good.
he's keeping up, he's playing music, and he's coloring and drawing and reading, and, you know, he gets his screen time and stuff like that. But it's, and, you know, of course he's full of energy and he wants to see his friends.
That must be the hard part. Yeah. Yeah,
because they've all discovered that it's great that they've got Zoom and Skype and Kids Messenger and all this stuff, but it's not the same as, you know, actually jumping in somebody's face versus jumping in their face virtually, right? So.
Absolutely. Oh, wow. Well, good on you for finding ways to make it all work.
Well, yeah.
Some days better than others.
Yeah. You know, I think it's like that with everything. But how are you guys doing?
We're good. I gotta say, like I feel like we're weathering it better than most. I mean, there's 3 of us in this house. I have Morris and I, of course, and then my 19-year-old son is living with us.
Okay.
But at 19, that's pretty autonomous. I don't really have to do much except cook food. Really, keep him fed. That's about it. So I'd say it's going quite smoothly, and we've all applied for the various subsidies available. I've been on EI now for a few weeks, and Morris just got his first deposit of the emergency fund that was available because he lost his job too. So
no kidding. Him and I think the official number yesterday was 250,000 Quebecers are out of work.
Wow.
Which you know, it's
staggering numbers, eh?
Well, that's just Quebec. You know, if you look at Ontario, which has proportionally a much larger population, it's devastating.
Yeah.
So
they're just staggering numbers. It's almost hard to get your head around the whole thing.
Well, I always keep coming back to this, that I've got friends who, you know, the entire production industry stopped. And I mean, anything to do with film production, video production, like even you know, I do a lot of corporate work, and all that stopped because businesses are shut down. And we're okay here because we can survive off the emergency benefits. You know, we can get by, but my buddies in Vancouver and my buddies in Toronto can't.
Yeah.
You know, so
the standard of living is so exponentially higher.
That's it. So the only issue I have with the emergency response package is that if you've got any income at all, it disqualifies you from receiving it. So
that's right. I think they're going to change that, though.
They're looking. Well, they're going to have to, because the guys, as I said, you know, I mean, $2,000 a month, that doesn't cover rent on an apartment in Toronto, much less groceries and
no way
getting around. Yeah. So no, we're doing all right out here. Yeah.
That's it. As far as like when I think about my brother, he lives in Toronto in a townhouse complex,
right?
Co-op housing, and they share a courtyard, and he has twins who are 2 years old and 2 teenage daughters.
Wow.
So when I think about like challenging parenting in small spaces, this is that's who my heart's going.
Well, that's it. I'm really, really hesitant to actually complain, you know, because we have a backyard and we're in a house. And, you know, we can go for a walk around the block and nobody gives us a hard time. It's really, it could be a lot worse.
Yeah, we got to count blessings where you find them.
Well, yeah, that's one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, actually, because I noticed that you make this very concerted effort every day to post this list of things to be grateful for on Facebook. And I admire it because you're persevering. You know, I mean, it's one of these things that it's really easy to sit down one day and say, okay, well, you know, I'll do it once, and then tomorrow something's come up and I'm just going to forget about it. But you're consistent. It's just like you're cranking these things out, and it's fun to see, and it's uplifting, you know, because anytime you look at somebody else saying, well, I'm grateful for this, you sort of stop and think, well, okay, you know, I should probably stop being in a bad mood and think about something I'm grateful for
Yeah.
too. So I was just wondering, where did
It
the
is a
inspiration...
bit of a... Oh, sure. I mean, it is a bit of an antidote for, you know, getting into that dark self-pity or frustration. And believe me, all that's going on as well. There's an undercurrent of very anxious days, or just feeling a bit down in the dumps other days, or other days feel just kind of flat and neutral, and I just maybe watch movies all day or whatever. But it's a practice I had already been doing privately with a few of my girlfriends for about 4 years now.
Okay.
And we do it on a daily basis. Between the four of us, we just send a group email every day and state all the things we've been grateful for. And when all this first transitioned into self-isolating, and we all had to stay home and lost jobs, and there was, it felt like a shock to the system. Like for a few days, I rolled through a stop sign. I'd never done that before. I left a pot burning on the stove. I left the top to my washing machine open. I was just really distracted and stressed and anxious and in shock. And so what I decided to do was bring that gratitude list into a more public space to share with other people, and
Sure.
and offer it up for other people to share their gratitude with me also, which I find really fulfilling, nourishing, and helpful. And to admit also that sometimes there was a lot on Facebook that had to do with fear and anger and the ugly side of social media that we all know so well, that I was hoping to offer a bit of an antidote to that also.
Yeah, well, it seems to be very prevalent these days. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
we just hear... I think the whole platform is geared towards overwhelming people with anything, particularly if it's negative. You know, it's sort of like the mainstream media as well, is that, hey, you know, if we can get a rise out of you, bad news sells, right?
Oh yeah, of course it does.
But it's refreshing. So this is just to let you know that even the people who aren't participating, I still see it, and I still look at your list, and it makes me think about it, even though I don't comment on it. I decided I wanted to call you and talk to you about it instead.
I love it. Thank you. That's really awesome to hear. That motivates me to keep the practice going in my public space for a while. I definitely plan to keep it continued, and to think of something new each day, right? A little bit is also a good thing. And I have noticed in the years that we've been doing these gratitude lists that it's often at the times that life is most challenging or most hard or whatever, the gratitude lists are actually longer in those moments. And that was something that really surprised me. When everything's going smooth, I'm not taking a lot of time to reflect on what I'm grateful for. I'm just in the groove of it. But I've found in the times that are more challenging, I have been surprised at still how much is left to be grateful for. It's been a neat mirror one to the other. It's a neat practice to adopt in my life.
Well, I think it's been a wake-up call for a lot of us. We're all very comfortable. You know, Canada's a pretty cushy country as countries go, right?
Yeah, no kidding, yeah.
We all thought we had stuff to complain about, and then this has sort of stripped away the veneer, and we're realizing that, okay, even in times where we've got to help people out, we still don't have that much to complain about. I don't know if that, you know, if that makes any sense to you. It's just trying to tie this in.
Absolutely it does.
It's
absolutely it does. I think too, from my experience of engaging with social media platforms, is it can be a very reactive space, both in terms of what we choose to initially post or share, and as well as what we choose to respond to. And I know that I'm feeling a lot of fear, especially was in that first week because of financial insecurity and not knowing how this was all going to roll out or how bad things would get. And I now want to put a little bit more conscientious thought that if I'm putting something out there for other people to read, am I contributing to that fear? Am I adding to it, or am I going to do something that might help calm it down? Because we can't control what's going on around us. There's so much that is beyond our control right now that I'm really trying to be conscientious about what perspective I want to contribute to, or as what I'm putting out helpful or harmful.
Well, sure. That's what's the wonderful expression? We can't control the stuff that's happening around us, but we can control how we react to it.
Exactly. And I love Stoicism.
But yeah, I get exactly what you're saying, and it makes a difference, and I read this wonderful thought. It was just an opinion, sort of this op-ed piece this afternoon saying, well, I think that once this is cleared up, everybody's going to be a lot kinder. Which,
that's hopeful. I like that.
Yeah, it is, and you look at the chaos that's happening, in the States, and you look at the chaos that's happening in certain European countries, and we sort of look at it, and it would be nice, because I noticed that people are being a lot kinder. Like I had to go to IGA to pick something up today, which we've been trying to avoid going on a regular basis just because, you're not supposed to. But everybody's having a chuckle because we're all measuring out, now that they've started comparing social distancing to the length of a hockey stick. Right. So, this guy gets too close to me, and I said, I forgot my hockey stick at home. I don't know if you're within regulation or not. And he just burst out laughing. And then,
yeah, we have to bring that gentleness with us, right? Because it's already pretty stressful that we can't contribute more to that, I don't think. If we can help it, and we can't always help it, but if we can, it's important to do.
Are you writing a lot of music? Are you playing a lot of music?
It's funny. I've had a few people ask me that, and I haven't touched my guitar once in the last 5 weeks. And leading up to that, I've actually been seeing John Cameron. I've started recording a new album, this next album, and I've got about 9 songs written. And had laid down all the bass tracks, and I was going in to re-record things and was really getting some momentum on all of that. And then when all this went down, everything just froze, and I haven't felt any inspiration to even pick up my instrument and strum a chord. I've had lyrics kind of rolling around in my head, but no inspiration to act on anything. It's almost like a real creative paralysis or something. I can't quite put my finger on it, but I'm being gentle with myself about it regardless.
I have this kind of, it's not even a theory, it's not even coherent, but I've noticed the same thing, like in terms of, writing short films. I used to play a lot more guitar and sort of let it slide because of other artistic endeavors and photography and cinema and stuff like that. So ironically, I find that I'm playing a lot more these days just because it's like this, if I get 10 minutes to myself and I go down and I, just like play blues licks and stuff like that. It's
that's great.
It's a switch off, but I'm not actually creating stuff. For me, it's just like this tiny little escape that there I go. But in terms of main creative stuff that I normally do, whether it's writing or whether it's actually taking pictures, I haven't touched a camera since any of this started. And it's the same thing.
So what do you think that's about?
I don't, if you could define a sort of, let's say, collective suppression of creativity, maybe it's this collective fear that we're all kind of feeling, this collective anxiety, which, normally discomfort creates better art, right? If you look historically, your writers and your poets and your great artists, they never had things going easily for them. So maybe, I don't know, maybe we need to switch gears, but right now, all the creative people I know are kind of going through the same thing where they're like, well, everything's on hold. And I don't know why, but I'm not panicking about it.
No, that's it. I am being gentle for sure with myself. What I think for me, part of what it is that I don't know what to say about it, because it's all COVID all the time. It's all coronavirus news all the time, and it's so pervasive in every aspect of our lives that when I have thought about lyrics or songwriting, I'm like, I'm not writing a COVID song. It's
No.
not what I want to write about.
No, and I don't.
But there's an undercurrent in there. There's something else in there that's brewing for me around the energy around it, but I don't want to be like banana, like on the nose,
Yeah.
I guess I'm just digesting what it is still.
Yeah, I'm part of a screenwriters
sense?
group, and it does. And I think it's very relevant because it was funny. Somebody put out this comment in this writers group, and they're like, how many people are working on this sort of dystopian future, and everybody goes, I am, and I'm like, I'm trying to write funny skits that have nothing,
And who knew that a pandemic would involve so much baking?
Yeah,
I never would have guessed that part of the storyline in a million years.
Well, that was one of my favorite memes, right? Was, seeing these two characters side by side, and one's dressed in this kind of Mad Maxy type, warrior garb, and the other dude's in a dressing gown, and it says, this is how I imagined the apocalypse would be, and how I'm actually dressed for the apocalypse. So,
right.
Right. We're all baking
a lot. It's funny
because
I had an immense fascination. I mean, I read science fiction. I watch every movie out there. Anything that had to do with societal collapse, that was one of my favorite thematic elements of reading or movies. And I've completely lost my taste for it entirely.
Yeah.
I am watching old Family Ties episodes. I'm watching Taxi. I'm like totally gone retro into the content I feel like consuming.
Comfort zones.
Yeah.
Comfort zones.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
totally.
the baking,
Exactly.
baking is one of these immediate, there's nothing like walking into a house with the smell of freshly baked bread.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And there's
wonderful.
nothing like ripping off a piece of, when I was living with my dad years and years and years ago, he went through a phase where he was determined that Saturday nights was bread baking night. So he'd bake bread for the week or for the couple of weeks or whatever, and there would be one sacrificial loaf that before heading to the pub on Saturday night, I would sit down with my dad and we would shred this loaf and just eat it, with a half pound of butter.
Beautiful memory. Yes, that's the best.
Yeah, and it's that's where you go for comfort, right? So I understand why everybody's baking right now, because it's insane.
Yeah.
Look at my social media feed, and half of it's doom and destruction, and the other half is, look, I baked 75 pies today.
I know. I'm just rolling with it. I love to cook, so I guess that's the creative outlet for now. Yeah, that feels good. And my mom is a bread baker as well, and they just moved to Knowlton last fall, and we haven't lived in the same town in about 30 years, so it's been a long time. And her and her partner now live in this wonderful house in Knowlton, and that finally we can be close to each other, but because of all this, we haven't actually been able to be close to each other for weeks now. But she did throw me a loaf of her homemade bread from her porch a couple of weeks ago, which was fabulous. So at least we're able to share in those things, which is quite wonderful.
You know what happened 7 years ago this month?
Our video. Wasn't it? Was it 7 years ago?
2013. It was published. I double checked because I was like, no, I think it was about 5 years ago, and I'm going, no, it's a little longer than that. But it was 7 years ago. It was published at the very end of March or the very beginning of April in 2013.
Yeah. It came up as a memory, actually. I saw that too 7 years ago, and I was so sad to not be able to go sugaring this year, maple sugaring with the Reicherts, because we called it, like, in the first few days when they said you can't go see people and social isolation and all the rest, we just knew we weren't going to make it down. And it was right at the beginning of sugaring season, so we had to just enjoy it through photos shared between friends. Mm-hmm. And then that video popped up, and I'm like, oh, no. I'm going to have to wait like a whole year for that fresh maple syrup. That's hard.
It is tough because they've had a spectacular year this year. Every sugar bush I know is...
Oh, really?
We've had a whole bunch of nights below zero and a whole bunch of days above zero. I mean, the entire month of March was like that. So there's going to be some great maple syrup around.
I really enjoyed doing that with you.
It was a lot of fun, and what a prize! I know, right? At this point, I can say, well, I've won a number of different prizes. We won first prize in the film competition in Knowlton last year. We won a prize in California a couple of years ago. We won, but the prize that I talk about is the ultimate Canadian prize, which was like this, wagon load of maple products.
I know, it was amazing. Matthew McCulley comes up with the most creative ways of bringing people together. I have to say, any project I've been involved with that guy, he thinks outside the box. He brings the most amazing creative people into projects, and he just works so hard to manifest these visions. It's just been fabulous, anything that he's come up with around that. Is he going to be one of the people that you hope to interview? Or
I'd love to talk to him.
Person to talk to. Yeah.
Are you all right if I share? I think I have a mixed version of the Ballad of Johnny Reichert still kicking around on a hard drive somewhere. Can I close with that?
Yeah.
Are you okay with that?
Absolutely. Yeah, go for it. That would be fun. It would be my pleasure if you shared that.
Awesome. All right. Take care. We'll talk soon.
Take care.
Thanks.
You bet.
Bye.
Bye.
If there ever was a man who deserved a song, Johnny Reichert, he would be the one. There's so many things you know how to do, then why is it so hard to write a song about you? Well, Johnny Reichert's a real pioneer. Throw him in the woods and he'll show no fear. Build himself a house out of sticks and stones and turn that tacky thing into a cozy home. Well, the man's well known from far and wide. Never was a boastful one, though he'd have the right. He's got more skill in his big toe than all men put together in Jericho. He'll turn his sap into liquid gold. He can mill himself a log like in the days of old. Turn a field with a horse and plow. That Johnny Reichert would sure know how. He can rig up contraptions of every sort. For Johnny Reichert, it's his favorite sport. If we ever see the day of the Third World War, he's the guy you want to have living next door. So if there ever was a man who deserved a song, Johnny Reichert, he would be the one. There's so many things you know how to do, then why is it so hard to write a song about you? There's so many things you know how to do, then why is it so hard to write a song about you?
And that was the Ballad of Johnny Reichert. Now, after winning that prize, I don't think I had to buy maple syrup for over a year. It was fantastic. Anyway, let's chat with Bob and see what he has to say.
Tales from the Quarantine Canteen
with Bob Benoit.
Hello.
Hello. How you doing?
How are you?
Not bad. Enjoying the rain more than it would be if it was snow.
So true. Okay, so the recipe is called Sweet and Spicy Baked Honey Sriracha Chicken.
Well, that sounds as yummy as the quick and easy burger casserole.
Yes. This one here, it's like it's got a Thai kind of approach to it, you know.
Yeah.
So it's 8 ounces of boneless chicken breast, cubed.
Okay.
So the first step basically is you're going to bread your chicken chunks and then cook them so that you get almost like a General Thai kind of approach, General Tao crunchy coating.
Well, General Thai works. If you got sriracha in it, I'm sure it's actually a very funny play on words.
Yeah, exactly. So with the chicken, it needs a quarter cup of all-purpose flour, 1 egg that is whisked, and 1 cup of panko breadcrumbs.
Okay.
So that's your coating. So then your next step is the sweet and spicy honey sriracha sauce, which contains 1 tablespoon of vegetable oil, 1 clove of garlic minced, 3 tablespoons of low-sodium soy sauce, 2 tablespoons of honey, 2 tablespoons of sriracha, 3 tablespoons of water, and some about 1/8 of a teaspoon of crushed red pepper flakes. Now, I think if you didn't have sriracha, you can probably use any hot sauce, but the sriracha is like really, really hot, so it takes very little. So 2 tablespoons is going to be really spicy. It depends on your tolerance, I think.
I have a jar of sriracha I bought that's American made, and it comes from Texas. And I picked up the bottle because I'd spent some time in Thailand, and of course, I mean, like a lot of other people, I love sriracha. And so this was actually labeled as extra hot sriracha from Texas.
Ouch.
And I still have the bottle. I bought it about 3 years ago, and I still have it. I mean, it's like I use it in such minuscule quantities that I am going to be able to pass this on to my kids. And I like spicy food, but it's really, you have to be careful with the srirachas.
All right, so you're going to preheat your oven to 400 degrees.
Yep.
And then you're going to bread your chicken with the flour, egg, and then the panko breadcrumbs.
Okay, so you're gonna take a bowl, you're gonna throw all your breadcrumb stuff in, and then you're gonna dip your chicken in, right? That's
you begin with the flour, then the egg, and then the panko.
Okay.
Because then the flour makes the egg stick, and then the egg makes the panko stick. So it's a 3-step process.
Okay. No, I'm glad you explained that.
And then you're going to put the chicken on a baking sheet that's lined with parchment paper or something. And then you're going to bake it in the oven for 15 minutes until fully cooked and lightly brown on the outside. So it's a healthier approach than deep frying it.
Yeah, and a safer approach than deep frying it.
Yeah, exactly. And then once you take the chicken out of the oven, you're going to toss it into the sweet and sour spicy honey sriracha sauce.
Okay.
And then you're going to, you can, serve that with a nice bed of rice, like either white rice or jasmine or basmati or, a scented rice.
Mm-hmm.
And with a salad. So it's a real quick and easy, not a big mess kind of a dish.
No, and if you sautéed some bok choy with it, it sounds like it would be delicious.
Oh God, yeah, for sure.
It sounds it sounds exactly like something I would make and not destroy completely.
Yeah, and I think it just shakes things up, for people who are kind of like in the humdrum of making the same stuff over and over, and so if they see this and like, oh, this sounds different and easy to do, because you're not having to heat up an oil pan and have a chance of burning it. So you throw it in the oven, you cook it till it's crispy, and then take it out. If there's chicken left over, you can probably throw that on a naan bread and make like a little mini sriracha pizza.
That sounds delicious.
Yeah, with a bit of cheese on top, and there you go. Put it in the oven under the broiler, and Bob's your uncle.
Bob's your uncle. All right, well, have a great week, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, you too, Rod.
All right, thanks.
Take care.
You
Bye-bye.
too. Bye.
Bye-bye.
So anyway, Bob's recipe made me think of Thailand, and I realized that I knew somebody who grew up here who's actually living in Bangkok now. So I tracked her down on social media, and I got in touch with her, and we had a fantastic conversation, which is going to give anybody here a real sense of perspective of how lucky we are to be in Canada. That's going to be on episode 5, chatting with Meeca Stenson, who's now living in Bangkok. I'd also love to hear from you. Is there anybody else out there suffering from this creative paralysis that I was talking about with Sarah? Is it common? Is it just us? If you are feeling it, have you found any workarounds, or are you just letting it slide? Let me know in the comments. Stay sane, everyone.